fine and dandy, and then suddenly there's this big fallout. Based on what's been said, it will look difficult to repair. What the heck is going on here?
Well, look, I think Elon Musk is still a hero in my mind because of what he's achieved, as an entrepreneur, and also the kind of democratization of X and the freedom of speech that he's now introduced. I welcome his comments because at the end of the day, he causes disruption. And where there's disruption, there's chaos. And where there's chaos, people have to rethink things and analyse really where they stand. So it brings clarity in the ultimate sense. And it's particularly important with the mass rape gangs, situation, scandals that have been going on. So he's brought that to light. But I would say Elon, I don't believe he understands the subtleties and the intricacies of British politics, because we have to remember, we are not in a presidential system where Nigel Farage is going to face Keir Starmer in all the states of the UK. If that was the case, you could perhaps put pressure on Nigel to move the Overton window in a faster, more robust way. But that simply isn't the case. We're in a first-past-the-post system. We are a small party. Reform is a small party that is looking to break the uni party, the establishment, which is something that happens once in 100 years. It is a colossal task.
Sure.
And it's only Nigel Farage who can do it. There is nobody else who can do it. It is Nigel Farage who has got us to this amazing position that we're in at the moment. So for Elon to say that, I'm sorry, it just sort of speaks of the fact that he probably doesn't understand the nature of politics in Britain.
Does it matter if this fallout is permanent? Is it a problem? I mean, there might be a sort of slight credibility issue for about 5 minutes, but once that's gone away, do you think it's possible that Nigel and Reform will actually take a bit of a sigh of relief?
It's possible, but if I'm honest with you, it would be great if Elon was on board. I think he is ultimately going to be an asset. He has a huge following, a huge influence. And I believe his knowledge of AI and also understanding how to run an election, I think his knowledge and expertise in that would be invaluable. So I do think it would be an asset if he joined, but I do think at the same time, believe it or not, Reform can just plough through and get the result it needs. Yeah.
I mean, the other point that I think you touched on there as well about sort of free speech and, allowing more people a platform. And of course, if you speak to people from the left, they will sort of say, well, we don't have a platform anymore. We used to, but it's been curtailed by Musk. If you speak to people from the right, they will say, we felt that our tweets never got seen as often as they should be. Owen Jones was seen more times than, I don't know, Nigel Farage. All of these arguments on different sides make it. But either way, the difficulty, I think, with Musk's tweeting is that what we can all agree on is that sort of breaking news or big comment connected to news on Twitter, as you rightly said, becomes, slightly out of context, isolated without any other information, and therefore often inaccurate. And I think that's sort of what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, and I would also bring up another point, is that I do think there are sections of X that are now becoming echo chambers, and I think that people, let's say, have a misunderstanding of how much influence they have when it comes to, say, winning an election. So you may get hundreds of thousands of people who like your tweets and share your posts and so on. That's fantastic. But then if you knock on the door down your street and ask them their opinion of Nigel Farage or anything else, it's something quite different. And I think people who are in support, and there have been people who are in support of Elon, who want Nigel Farage to step down or something like that because he's not strong enough on issue or strong enough on that issue, simply don't understand how the electorate thinks across the country outside of it. And I think we need to wake up to that if you're going to win an election.
What do you think happens next then, Myron? Are we going to see Mr. Musk come back once he's, stubbed out his doobie and return to sort of some semblance of normality and say, do you know what, I got that wrong, actually. I'm back on Team Nigel. I can almost see that happening.
Do you know what? I could actually see the same thing happening. I think once the dust settles, I think Elon, he fires out tweets, sometimes in a very strong way. at multiple different angles, at multiple different things. But once the dust settles, once he sees that Nigel's gaining traction, that he's making he's breaking through the first past the post system, that potentially we could have an explosion of seats in Parliament as the general election approaches, he will see that Nigel Farage and reform again is the only way change is going to happen. That the country needs a handbrake turn in terms of the direction it's going, and only Nigel Farage and reform can deliver that. Then I think you'll see him come back on in full support of reform, perhaps even a donation, perhaps even more.
Yeah, we will see. Mayuran, thank you as ever. Mayuran Senthilnathan, former Reform UK candidate.